if we lose the night, we're screwed. I'll get one as quick as we can. I'm gonna have to hunt down Jack, so I'll get him in the air.
Okay.
And we'll have one by the end of the day. Maybe. But if it doesn't look like we can get one tonight, then...
Frost fighters on the sluice runs.
It's a nightmare. All right.
Sounds good.
Thanks. To Whitehorse, it's a 7-8 hour drive each way. Jack's an hour and a half to Whitehorse and an hour and a half back, so the plane is paying for itself on runs like that.
The episode began with a rare quiet moment as Parker Schnabel, Tony Beets, and Rick Ness sat together for drinks in Dawson City before returning to the final stretch of their mining seasons. Although the scene carried a relaxed atmosphere, the tension between the miners was impossible to ignore. Parker joked that he couldn't allow Tony to find more gold than his crew, but everyone understood how serious the competition had become. With gold prices skyrocketing to nearly $4,000 an ounce, the stakes had never been higher. While Parker and Tony battled for mining supremacy, Rick Ness faced a completely different kind of pressure. His season had been filled with uncertainty, setbacks, and financial struggles, leaving him desperate to hit his 1,800-ounce goal before winter shut him down. To make matters even more complicated, both Parker and Tony had expressed interest in acquiring Rick's land. Rick admitted he was considering his future carefully, but he clearly wasn't ready to walk away from mining. After everything he had endured, he wanted to prove he could still survive in the Klondike. At the same time, Kevin Beets entered the finale fighting for his own future as an independent mine boss. Kevin still needed roughly 800 ounces to reach his ambitious 2,000-ounce target, and the pressure mounted as equipment issues threatened to derail his final push. For Parker Schnabel, the finale became an all-out war against both time and nature. Winter conditions threatened every aspect of the operation. Frozen ground could destroy production at any moment, and Parker knew there was absolutely no room left for delays. He pushed his team harder than ever before, deploying all 4 wash plants in a massive final attempt to overtake Tony. At the center of Parker's success once again stood his trusted leadership team. Mitch Blaschke, Tyson Lee, Brennan Rualt, and the rest of Team Schnabel carried enormous responsibility during the final days of the season. Parker made it clear that mistakes could not happen anymore. Every hour mattered. Big Red and the Golden Goose continued running hard at the Golden Mile while Bob worked the bridge cut. Over at Ken and Stewart's ground, Roxanne kept producing steady gold as Mitch simultaneously focused on stripping ground for next season's operation. Even while chasing victory in the present, Parker was already thinking about the future of his mining empire. Then came one of the most dramatic moments of the finale. Big Red suddenly suffered serious motor problems, threatening to shut down one of Parker's most important wash plants during the most critical part of the season. Normally, such a breakdown late in the year could completely derail an operation. But Parker's company had a unique advantage few miners possess: its own airplane. Pilot Jack Frischkorn climbed into Parker's Cessna 172 and flew to Whitehorse to retrieve the replacement part needed to repair Big Red. The scene perfectly highlighted just how massive Parker's operation has become. Years ago, Parker was a young miner struggling to prove himself. Now he runs an empire large enough to deploy aircraft to save production during emergency situations. The gamble paid off. Jack returned with the part in time, allowing mechanics to repair Big Red and get the wash plant back online before the freezing weather could shut them down permanently. The finale also reinforced why Mitch Blaschke remains one of the most respected crew members in Gold Rush history. Mitch worked nearly non-stop during the final days of the season while trying to finish a stripping project before flying home for his daughter's birthday. Even after damaging a ripper tooth on his bulldozer, Mitch refused to slow down. He pushed through exhaustion and worsening weather conditions until the work was finally completed. As snow began falling across the Yukon, Mitch finished the project and headed home, ending another remarkable season for Team Schnabel. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for: Parker's final gold weigh-in. Roxanne generated 94.90 ounces at Ken and Stewart's. Bob delivered 103.75 ounces from the bridge cut. Big Red and the Golden Goose combined for another 307.95 ounces from the Golden Mile. The numbers pushed Parker Schnabel's final season total to a staggering 10,596.45 ounces worth approximately $42 million. It was one of the biggest totals in Gold Rush history. But even that incredible achievement was not enough to stop Tony Beets. Throughout the finale, Tony operated exactly the way fans have come to expect after all these years: fearless, aggressive, and relentless. While Parker pushed hard, Tony pushed even harder. He kept 4 wash plants operating around the clock as he attempted to protect his throne as king of the Klondike. At the early bird cut extension, Cousin Mike repositioned Sluice-A-Lot to maximize final production before winter arrived. Meanwhile, Find-A-Lot continued operating at the corner cut while Harold and the massive trommel stayed active at Paradise Hill. Of course, no Gold Rush finale would be complete without chaos. Tony had to deal with a flip truck at the early bird cut, adding another dangerous incident to an already stressful week. Then the trommel operation experienced a major failure after overnight tailings backed into the distributor box, creating a massive clog that shut down production. To make matters worse, motor issues left the plant offline for nearly 8 hours during the final push for gold. For most crews, those setbacks might have destroyed any chance of success. But Team Beets kept fighting. The payoff became clear during the final weigh-ins. Find-A-Lot brought in 202.18 ounces. Sluice-A-Lot added another 266.96 ounces. Harold produced 132.12 ounces. Then came the trommel cleanup, which stunned everyone with an incredible 417.36 ounce haul. The massive cleanup secured Tony's victory once again. By the end of the finale, Tony Beets finished season 16 with an astonishing 11,231 ounces worth approximately $45 million. Not only did Tony defeat Parker in one of the closest gold races ever shown on Gold Rush, but he also reinforced why he continues to dominate the Klondike after decades in the mining business. No matter how large Parker's empire becomes, Tony still finds ways to stay ahead. While Tony and Parker battled for mining supremacy, Ness delivered one of the most emotional stories of the finale. Rick entered the final week needing more than 400 ounces to hit his 1,800-ounce goal and secure bonuses for his loyal crew. Unlike the giant operations run by Parker and Tony, Rick depended heavily on a smaller group of workers who had stayed with him through difficult times. The pressure on everyone was enormous. In a desperate attempt to maximize production, Rick made one final gamble by returning to Lightning Creek and processing leftover pay dirt through the wash plant Rocky. Unfortunately, the plan almost collapsed immediately when the equipment began smoking because of a failed feed pump. The setback left Rick with almost no margin for error. Everything now depended on the last chance cut. One of the most emotional moments of the episode came when Brian Z. Zaremba spent his final night before returning home to his family, working deep into the night running equipment for Rick. The loyalty shown by Rick's crew throughout the season became one of the strongest themes of the finale. Even when things looked hopeless, they continued fighting together. Eventually, the exhausted crew gathered inside the only bar in Keno to hear the final results. The moment quickly became one of the most satisfying victories of the season. Rick's final weigh-in came in at 431.91 ounces, pushing his total to 1,811.56 ounces, worth more than $7.2 million. Rick had done it. After months of uncertainty, setbacks, and criticism, he successfully reached his target and secured bonuses for his crew. More importantly, he proved that he still belongs among the top miners in the Yukon. The finale made it clear that Rick Ness is far from finished, and his comeback story may become one of the biggest storylines heading into next season. Kevin Beets also experienced an emotional conclusion to his season. Throughout the year, Kevin tried to build his own identity as a mine boss rather than simply relying on the Beets family name. His approach focused heavily on protecting equipment and avoiding catastrophic failures, but with time running out, he finally decided to push harder in hopes of reaching his 2,000-ounce target. The decision immediately backfired. After increasing water pressure to process more dirt through the wash plant at the Sphinx Cut, Kevin's equipment suffered blown fuel lines and damaged injectors. Smoke poured from the machinery as another devastating breakdown threatened to shut the operation down completely. Fortunately, Faith Tang helped locate replacement parts from a neighboring miner who had already ended their season. Veteran mechanic Buzz Legault then stepped in to perform repairs and keep the wash plant alive. At the final weigh-in alongside Tony and the Beets family operation, Kevin revealed that his final 3 weeks produced 376.16 ounces. His season total reached 1,591 ounces, worth approximately $6.3 million. Although Kevin fell more than 400 ounces short of his goal, the season still represented important progress. He survived an incredibly difficult year, generated millions in gold, and gained valuable experience running his own operation. Most importantly, Kevin finished the season believing he now has the confidence and financial stability to continue building his future in the Klondike. By the end of the Klondike Shootout, Season 16 of Gold Rush had delivered one of the strongest finales the series has produced in years. The episode perfectly balanced intense competition with emotional storytelling, reminding viewers that gold mining is about far more than numbers on a scale. Tony Beets once again defended his crown as king of the Klondike. Parker Schnabel pushed his growing empire to extraordinary heights but still came up short in his battle against Tony. Ness completed an inspiring comeback that saved both his operation and his future. Kevin Beets endured painful setbacks but proved he has the potential to become a major force on his own. As snow finally blanketed the Yukon and the miners shut down their wash plants for winter, the finale left fans with one clear message: the battle for Klondike Gold is far from over. Season May 16th have ended, but the rivalries, ambitions, and unfinished business heading into next year could make Season 17 even bigger. What made the ending of Season 16 even more shocking was the fact that for much of the modern era of Gold Rush, Parker Schnabel had become the dominant force of the series. Year after year, Parker continued expanding his operation, increasing his gold totals, and building what many fans believed was the most powerful mining empire in the Klondike. With multiple wash plants, experienced foremen, advanced equipment, and one of the strongest crews on the show, it often felt inevitable that Parker would eventually leave everyone else behind permanently. That is why the ending of Season 16 felt so surprising. For much of the season, Parker looked unstoppable. His operation was larger than ever, his crew remained highly disciplined, and his gold totals consistently stayed among the best in the Yukon. Even when mechanical failures or frozen ground slowed production, Team Schnabel always seemed capable of recovering quickly. Parker's ability to solve problems, make aggressive decisions, and outwork competitors has been the foundation of his success for years. Many fans entered the finale believing this would finally be the season where Parker officially reclaimed complete control of the Klondike mining race. Instead, Tony Beets reminded everyone why he remains one of the most dangerous miners in Gold Rush history. Despite Parker's massive operation producing more than 10,500 ounces worth roughly $42 million, Tony still managed to stay ahead with an incredible 11,231-ounce season. It was a stunning result because Parker truly pushed harder than ever before. He operated 4 wash plants, flew emergency aircraft missions for replacement parts, and kept his crews mining until winter physically forced them to stop. Under almost any circumstances, those numbers would have guaranteed victory. But Tony's experience, relentless pace, and ability to maximize every piece of ground once again proved decisive. The finale almost felt symbolic of the ongoing rivalry between the two miners. Parker represented the future of large-scale modern mining, organized, efficient, and constantly expanding. Tony, meanwhile, represented old-school Yukon toughness and instinct, relying on decades of mining knowledge and sheer determination to stay ahead. Even after years of competition, Tony still found a way to protect his crown. What makes the outcome even more fascinating is that Parker did not actually fail. In fact, Season May 16th had been one of the strongest seasons of his entire career. His crew performed exceptionally well under extreme pressure, and his total would have dominated many previous Gold Rush seasons. Yet the standards surrounding Parker Schnabel have become so high that finishing second somehow feels unexpected. That alone shows how much Parker has changed the expectations of the series over the years. At the same time, Tony's victory served as a reminder that experience still matters enormously in the Klondike. While Parker continues growing his empire every season, Tony remains incredibly difficult to defeat because of the scale of his operation and his willingness to take risks right until the final cleanup. No matter how many new wash plants Parker adds, Tony always seems capable of finding another big gold haul when it matters most. The ending of Season 16 also sets up an even bigger storyline moving forward. Parker came painfully close to defeating Tony, and fans can already sense that the rivalry between them is far from finished. Losing by a relatively narrow margin after such a massive season could motivate Parker even more heading into next year. After dedicating so much effort into expanding his operation, Coming up short at the very end will likely fuel him throughout the offseason. For viewers, that is exactly what made the finale so memorable. Instead of a predictable ending where Parker simply overwhelmed the competition, Season 16 delivered genuine suspense all the way to the final weigh-ins. Tony Beets once again proved that he is still the miner everyone must beat, while Parker Schnabel showed that he is closer than ever to finally taking the crown back permanently. As the Yukon freezes over for another winter, one major question now hangs over the future of Gold Rush. Can Parker Schnabel finally dethrone Tony Beets in Season 17, or will the king of the Klondike continue his reign for yet another year?
So, how was your day, everyone? Mine was, ta-da, blissful, because I'm out on the dirt, and that's where I'm happy. I've only been out on this spot for about 3 hours, and no, I haven't found any gold, but that's okay. I've just sort of set up and finding my bearings, and just enjoying being out on the red dirt and the golden hour, which is magnificent. Anyway, I'll get back to what I'm doing, which is trying to set everything up so that I can make some tea, and it's also a little bit of a mess, so better get back to that.